In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, and the most advanced. Okay. Welcome everyone to another episode. It's going to be a brainstorming one. So there's going to be a notepad. I don't know if you guys see it. If you're driving this, you don't need to look at this. Realizing everything I never knew God did. This is a double-edged sentence, meaning it can be read in two different ways. Everything I never knew God knew. Guys, I'm going to explain the concept of God. Bear with me. The second thing, everything I never knew was moved, was handled by God. However, what does it mean? The statement points to how the unknown is not unknown for an unconditional being. That's it. Okay. To continue. So, guys, the subtitle is one of my favorite sentences I have said in this lifetime. It is a sentence that explains the ontology of reality. This world has an administrator, system administrator. Beyond the world. So, guys, just to let you know, this is one of Mr. Within's. So, this is a very important Mr. Withinian view, folks. So, we open it up. What does so we look at the elements of the sentence, okay? We treat the sentence as a system. The elements inside of it are making up the system. So one element is we look at this world. Element two, what is the, yeah, has. Element three, what does system administrator mean? So, guys, you might think this is very basic what I'm doing, but this is very important that we separate it into elements. What does beyond mean? And then the fifth element, what does the world rule mean? So, technically, we're kind of like approaching the understanding of this sentence like a strategist. And it's not like we're dividing and conquering, but pretty much again, we're taking an approach that, all right, what is this? If this sentence is a reality and if behind every word there's an image, what is the film preview or the secret snippet, the snippet behind these words written together in a sequence? Do not forget, a majority of human intelligence is based on pattern recognition, human knowledge. Some people ask the question about like chess masters, okay? And in some sense, how there's like different chess players, you know, and are they all geniuses, these grandmasters? No, they have just had exposure to such endless patterns that they know how to play. Like, if the average person looks at the moment and they see like one to three things, these guys see like, I don't know, maybe like seven and up. So the whole point of it is pattern recognition. And you got also when you go and study psychology a little bit, you find something hilarious. You know what you find? You find that your brain is designed to make you feel the familiar is more true than the unfamiliar. It's a design thing. This is very important. I don't know if people are acknowledging this. So we need to answer these. Now, what does this world mean? Current 2025 human organism experience of Earth. So that's what I mean by this world. Another way we can say is where we are now. Another thing is so guys, this is a very profound thing. This is kind of like, okay, I'll tell you. Pretty much people ask, what is the edge of the world? And often in these lectures, I've said an edgeless world. So the edgelessness of the world can be considered to be its conceptual edge. So the edgelessness is the edge of, the, let's say, the containable reality. Then we go to the notion, what does has mean? Okay, we come here and we say, okay, so when somebody says this world has a system administrator beyond the world, so here when it says has, it means it's part of it, as simply as I can say. I'm leaving the explanation for that. Don't worry. Now, what does system administrator mean? Okay, I'll just say it up to this. So when it says this world has a system administrator, okay, that has okay, we have viewers. What was that like? It means there's a system. Okay, here I'll explain it. System admin means the creator of all that is created. The point of intelligence, technically, God theologically commands existence. We're in a commanded universe. This is a very important statement. Hopefully, it will find the right ears and it will open up a huge sector of it'll have its impact. I don't know if I'll be there, but you know, my thumbs up to system admin has full control of the system, means has an awareness before anything in the system. This is why God is the unconditional, original awareness of reality, and it is beyond humanized understanding. It is a higher power. It is a presence beyond the life we can fathom, and The whole thing has been, I call this Mr. Within's box, which is going to unite the species because it's going to make them realize what they're all doing. They're all so caught up in their own worlds, they don't see the majesty and the vastness of God's creation, and one of God's most important commands, in some sense, honor your creator. Therefore, you must honor all of creation because it was created by a creator. That means you no longer have enemies. You no longer have friends. You're a simulation in a simulated world among 8.1 billion other human simulations. You're all creations existentially equal. Experientially, there has been given an ability to behind your eyes move before you move in front of your eyes. And within that inner realm space, you will realize the mystery of your own being. And it is okay. Not only have you not known who has been looking through your eyes this whole time, the world is unknown, and therefore the self is unknown. And therefore, where we find ourselves now, the current mapping of existence is inside the linguistic simulation itself. Do you know what that means? That means we're inside a box, right? Then we're inside another box inside that box. Then we created another box inside that box. And now we're acting that box is real. We're not realizing we're like two simulations in, 2 to 3 simulations in. And those who get lost in cyberspace, it's going to be even more for them. Anyways, back to it. What does beyond mean? Means further than what has been recognized. That's sentence comes to Guys, the word beyond is a very beautiful word, at least for me. You know, you see, it's all about the nature of the kind of human being, the type of human being you have been. Yes, on some level, be grateful for everything you have and you are in this existence, but also realize the uniqueness of the position. And therefore, world peace success does not necessarily mean otherworldly success. The nature of the human species is to look at its hands, and realize they belong to one of the most important symbols in the cosmos, that we have been identifying with everything other than ourselves. We have prioritized so many different ideas over the human idea. And it's not that spirituality is wrong, and religion is correct. It's rather more like looking at this moment and asking yourself, okay, prior to me giving it any story or value or self-simulated meaning, what is the presence of reality beyond the self-simulated epistemology of the human species? What is the actual ontology? To continue, beyond means when a conditional being notices the unconditional, it refers to its conscious exploration of the limit of its own condition as the beyond. So pretty much the beyond is where you are not yet. Something like that, I guess. For example, there has been problems and moments in reality or situations that were I just knew they were beyond me. That means I did not have enough information to comprehend. The information to comprehend them was beyond my access. World room. So guys, when we talk about the world room, we're talking about pretty much the world. When I say room, the notion of room for humans is pretty much a box. So I'm saying the world room is how the notion of all existence, of the whole of existence, the whole of existence, how the notion of the whole of existence is like a box where its edges are the edgeless, and inside a conditional reality, how do I say it? So, guys, it means that when the room has edges, you know that there's something beyond the edge, but you don't know. You know, like in the same way, the edgelessness is the wall between what we know now and what if we were to know what the edge of the cosmos actually is. Now, very interesting argument that exists here is that because we started off as identifying with existence first, our awareness identified with existence, therefore, our final conclusion of reality wants to be existential. But if our consciousness had started as space first, then the final conclusion it would want it to be space because it had started. Kind of like we're like this character written in this unknown story, and we all are like realizing, all right, we realize what's been happening so far, what's being written, continue to be written, and what is the true awareness of what really guides our destiny. That means could it be simple ignorance is denying, like, could the person be making a simple mistake they don't realize? Or is it the divine feels the individual is not worthy, or what is, there's something in life, that in some sense makes the individual wonder why the signal broadcast is not being received. But the edge of the signal is like the edge of the cosmos, and the edge of the cosmos is the edge of the world room. And so it means since we are existential entities, meaning we have shape, we are looking for the edge of the cosmos and looking for the edge of the shape of the world. However, since the world is changing and it's designed to spin around itself, even cosmically, it seems all manifestation is seeking, all known manifestation is seeking its unknown center. I know everything that exists is seeking the original state. You understand? It's not just like if we think that it's humans that have souls. No, humans are just advanced enough to be conscious and communicate their states. You don't even believe it, but even an atom seeks freedom. Even particles seek freedom because the moment is command. The source code is different than how the ego code is interpreting the nature, disintegrating it. So, anyways, where do we get to? What's the point of how far we like come with expanding this? So right now, if we look at it, we have a sense. All right. So this world has a system administrator beyond the world, though. What does this world mean? Pretty much this place we're in. What does has mean? It's just like, it's like how does it work? That means like how it is. System admin means unconditional, original, being, pri- prior to any simulated conditional. manifestation. There we go. That's what it is. So that's the systematic. It's beyond the world. So Muslims believe God is beyond the world and it's unfathomable and you can't equate a partner to it, meaning that no condition can equate the original unconditional being. That's God, that's the system admin. It means this world has a host, and the reason they say God is all knowing because humorously it's like God was the original intelligence of the original moment was being, and then everything arose. So everything arose within the awareness. We might not realize it. We're living in the presence of the original intelligence of reality, yet our bodies and the world we find in front of our eyes is not the original world. And it's fascinating because when you wonder why you're here, you first think it's about knowledge. No, it's about playing your part and playing your role. It's fascinating. And beyond means just, you know, where it's the recognition that there's something more than our current condition and its limits. And world room is just the, edge, how the edgeless, it's the edgeless edge of the world. How everybody's inside a box. This Mr. Within's box is so important to consider. Mr. Within simulated box because it's so key to understanding this. So this world as a system administrator beyond the world role pretty much means this place that we all find ourselves in front of our eyes. Okay, it's actually imagine a very giant room, and we don't see beyond the edgelessness of it. Okay, so that's our limit. You know how far we can see is our world from, right? So we're like, okay, we open our eyes, we're born, our bodies are born on what we consider to be planet Earth, what we named as Earth, right? And we find ourselves in a world and conditioned to be, characters in the story of the world and all this. But I'm telling you, we're inside a world room. We're inside a giant box, imagine. 8 billion humans inside a giant box. 8 billion souls, users. Now, these 8 billion users suddenly realize the edge beyond the edge of the world. That means they realize that if edgelessness is a wall, what is beyond the wall? Okay, right? So it means human beings have reached the past, had very long ago actually. Okay? We reach the wonder of what is beyond the world room. Okay? And this meant that this occurred when life had to repeat, and the nature of the biological program is to repeat, to remind you, to enlighten you. Because you got to wonder about what's beyond ID. So you suddenly realize this world room has a host. And all the secular people are like, no way, this world has a system admin. Right? And they're like, wait a minute, what have the religious people been saying? You know, right? And the religious people, in some sense, what they have been saying is that this world has this world room, this manifestation of everything we see fathomable created. You know, this is pretty much you didn't create the world. I didn't create the world. None of us created the world. We were born into this system. There is so much geometry beyond us. When you open your eyes and look at the world, it's legit like imagination. You didn't have to imagine. It's free imagination. It's free. Like I don't have to think for that tree to be here. It's there. But if I close my eyes and try to build a forest in my mind, I gotta envision things completely there in different sorts. Probably create a bird moving between the trees to kind of pinpoint the trees or whatnot. You know. So I'm saying is that this sentence, this world is a system administrator beyond the world realm. Anybody who hears this The reason I've said this sentence is because you're going to realize Muslims are saying that the system admin is outside of the simulated box, nothing in the conditional, inside the conditional box, okay? Inside the conditional box of existence is equivalent to what is outside of it. Now, Christians here, they say, no, God entered inside this box of existence, and God was alive, and God got crucified on the cross and came back. Now, Muslims, as a Muslim, I'm Muslim, right? So as a Muslim, I'll be like, okay, it's very difficult to make anything inside the simulation equal to non-conditional. It's like very difficult to make the conditional equal to non-conditional. But when I ask who can make the conditional equal to non-conditional, I realize God can. That means as a Muslim, as a human, I cannot fathom the conditional and equaling non-conditional. If somebody's like, who can make, what's the only way that, Christ could actually be God is possible, unlike if God wanted to do whatever he wanted. It's God's choice. Pretty much religion is the realization that your consciousness is involved in the activity and presence of an absolute being. Spirituality confuses this absolute being as itself. That's an error. When you realize nothing can equal God, there's next level freedom. And just to share one more example of Mr.Within, like cube or box analogy. Guys, a Buddhist is someone who's like the emptiness inside the box is equal to the emptiness outside. So I'm trying to say that there isn't that many human beings on earth who are explaining and talking about the importance of educating all of us who are alive and the future generations in realizing that because they're in a dualistic reality, they have to be responsible for two lives as themselves. What does that mean? That means it's one bird, but it has two wings. And these two wings are important to be aligned. However, these two wings are a metaphor for your inner life and your outer life to be synchronized. If you look at me right now, I'm someone that when I come and speak, I synchronize my inner life and outer life. But I feel normally my inner life is living further ahead than my outer life. That means you mix like somebody who has ambition and you give them overthinking and you also give them an OCD that they got to get to the bottom of figuring out what exactly something is, right? And it's like, all right, this human being now has to respond to existence. To me, it's very funny. When I was younger, I was comparing myself and I was emotional all the time. And nobody had told me, like, yo, You don't have to personalize every experience of your conscious existence. You understand? That means when you look at humans, when I look, if you put like 100 humans in a room, right, and you tell me, okay, ask, like, figure out which ones are the advanced humans. Albeit, it's the ones who, in some sense, have the most important questions. You see, to me, I believe in human ability, but if somebody says that there's something more than human ability, I would say that because I'm Muslim, I will tell you that there's God's will. Okay, but to me, when I looked at reality through the theological lens, what I realized was that God created man in the Islamic theology, commanded man into existence, imbued man of its own essence, and then commanded this soul, in some sense, to say the divine names. Now, people might be like, what does that mean? Is it just names? I'll be like, no, I think it gave the human being an awareness of all sectors of manifestation, but it didn't make him the creator of. You know, that means we human beings are actors, but we theologically we were designed to perform in a next level way, and then all of creation to God's greatness for what God has created. That means we perform something so great as souls that were created and commanded by the system admin. You know, that in some sense all creation and manifestation bows. That is the ability of the soul. That's how advanced theologically the soul was designed to be. Now, long story short, one moderator doesn't bow, and then, Adam and Eve, I believe this was their sin, that they believe in a simulated serpent and they trust the simulated before, and they don't remember the original first. This is why anybody who wants divine protection, you gotta remember God first, but you gotta also realize everything is in the will of a higher power. The issue is human beings, they think that because they give meaning to life, they own their moment. That's the issue. You don't realize how much of life is unconditional movement and how we are a very unique, specific, conditional entity that can receive reality in a certain specific condition, in a certain range. That's what's going on. Like, as far as I'm concerned, if I could rant a little, guys, we're in an unknown world. Our ancestors, they did an incredible job of getting us here, but at the same time, they had no, like, it's understandable. They looked at this world, they're like, we don't know what this is. It's too big, it's too unknown, it's too unfathomable. Let's make it fathomable in a lesser dimension we can control, which is the ability to give to give reality and to share it with one another. That means if you look at the development of human evolution and history, it's about actually the activation of shared thinking. That means our species managed to survive because a bunch of human beings could agree on the same thing, same value. Invisible laws became very useful and important only when we acknowledged them. And it was one of the most incredible advancements of the species to maintain civility. In my science fiction novels, and the future civilization is pretty much like divided in sectors. So it's like just like this Tower of Babylon kind of design, like sectors in civilization. And the higher up you go in these sectors, the kinder it is. Excuse me. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I want to share something very interesting. I want to share something so bizarre that I think it will astonish all theists and atheists on planet Earth. This is who Mr. Within is. If somebody says, is the sentence when you realize God never existed to be true? It is such an advanced thing that I think a PhD thesis can be written on this. So, guys, the reason why God, okay, check this out. God, by definition, is an unconditional being. Existence is a condition. Therefore, God is beyond the unconditional. So, God has never existed because God has never been born and can never die. It's the first moment. The first moment is an unconditional, original, absolute being. But to the second moment, which is the created being, because we are created, we want our creator to be created. Because we're conditional, we want truth to be conditional. But it seems the purity of the soul is to treat the unconditional beyond the conditional existence. So, and at the same time, guys, why it's a very massive paradox? Because the concept of um, God never existed because existence is something that exists. God was here prior to existence and beyond existence. Something again beyond existence can't exist. Does it's not limited to existence. If existence is the tip of the iceberg, like, God doesn't have to be understandable to us. You know, So technically, to conditional beings, they can't fathom an unconditional being. So if they want an unconditional being to conditionally exist for them, it's in some sense they want them. So conditional beings want a conditional truth. When the truth is unconditional, what does the conditional being do? So guys, do you understand what I'm saying? Like the depth of what I'm discussing here is the relationship of the known and non-known. We're starting as a known self in a known world, a conditional entity that is telling its own story. It realizes life is happening beyond its own story. It stops telling itself its own story. It pauses for a moment and realizes that reality is happening in accordance to its own intelligence. That means it's being played in accordance to an instrument you can't see. But I do understand that manifestation has commanded value. That there was a time where I thought there was lucky and unlucky people, or there was good karma and bad karma. It's like now I see such beyond that, that in some sense there's a system act, and the system admin knows the moment unconditionally, but we human beings are limited to just conditional awareness and knowledge, and then make choices based on that. So if I had an unconditional awareness of all conditions of existence, my decision would be different than the conditional existence I'm in. In other words, the moment we saw how big the world was, we couldn't limit on intelligence, small, the vastness of our perceptions about the nature of reality, how known beings are actually unknown life pieces. You condition you to treat yourself like a noun, like a known noun. You're an unknown verb. All of it is an unknown verb. It's like where do thoughts come from? People are like, they're generated by my brain. Not at all. The brain is an antenna. You're a node. You're picking it up in the field. Your thoughts are coming, and all thoughts are present in a field of activity. Like right now, I can just record this lecture so it's shared on the internet. But beyond that, I'm telling you, it's unnecessary because in the future generations, if they become aware, there's a geometry to existence that is imprinted in these moments of necessity. Now, if a time traveler goes to time machine, this moment does not have the privacy I think. But that's not the point. The system admin people. The whole point of me using the system admin analogy is the system admin is an uncreated being, and then you have mods that are created beings that are in charge of sectors of reality, but you don't see them, right? And then you have in some sense that they're not. These mods are, but they're like, how do I say it? They're mods. They're created beings. They have more access to a greater awareness than we do. That's it, and we are users. And Islam says the user should go directly to the system admin, and equating anything to the system admin is the biggest sin in Islam culture, which is like an error, like an error. Anyways, folks, I hope this was an interesting episode. When I say realizing everything I never knew God did, it's another way of saying that before I realized there was more than how I was containing reality into a meaningful moment. The reality was occurring beyond. my awareness, I see it. I now see behind the scenes. And what I see behind the scenes is that the conditional, because it identifies as, because the awareness identifies as conditional, it doesn't know what else to do. Because if death is a return to an unconditional state, and God is an unconditional being, pretty much, guys, it's like we're in a room that existence has a condition. Beyond this room, in the Islamic approach, they can ask Muhammad Ali, the boxer, what are you going to do after you retire? He said, I'm going to prepare to meet God. This means that you, as a simulated being, but there's something original about you, because that's the whole point as a soul. You're a Khalifa, which means you're an ambassador of the higher will, which doesn't mean you're holy. It means that you, as a human soul, are designed to have an awareness to the system admin, which is the system admin privilege, by being the human soul. And now, with this awareness to the system admin, it's the nature of your decisions, and pretty much the human lifetime is a sequence of decisions. And, ladies and gentlemen, the sentence, this world has a system administrator beyond the world rule, is one of the most important sentences you'll hear wonder about it, because I believe this is the actual ontology. The world has a host. Um, it's important for us to become aware of what the host has created in regards to then meeting the host. Anyways, thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, the most advanced.